The AI provision of this, there was a provision in the bill that was going to create a 10-year moratorium on states' ability to in any way regulate AI. And that is a very narrow, AI sounds a lot more narrow than it is. It would have meant anything almost algorithmic. Things like rent price fixing websites. I mean, a whole host of things would have been outside of the state's purview. That was voted out. Here's Steve Bannon with Mike Davis talking about this. Is quite a turnaround. The vote was something like 99-1 to strip it out of the bill. Now, Bannon's very excited because he really has a problem with folks like Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has a problem with him. And so this is part of this little intra MAGA fight, I guess you could call it. Again, it's not ideological at the end of the day. It really is just which one of them wants to be closer to Donald Trump.
Hours after midnight, they thought they had this one. At 4 o'clock in the morning, there was a 99-1 vote, which shows you no senator, when exposed, wanted to be near this thing. This is the kind of radioactive vote that they don't want attached to their, and the only guy that voted for is Tillis, who's leaving and needs a job as a lobbyist, obviously, with AI. It is the shift in this from actually being a done deal after weeks and weeks and weeks, that's how powerful the oligarchs are, to 99-1 against, you know, what, 16, 17, 18 hours later. Walk us through that, sir.
Yeah, 10 a.m., this was a done deal for the AI oligarchs. They thought they were going to get 10 years of amnesty. They worked on getting a deal with Marsha Blackburn, who opposed them on this, and she's been a fierce warrior. I know she's going to try to come on your show after the vote. She's been great on that. She was able to work out because they thought this was just inevitable, so she was trying to cut her losses, and so she went from 10 years to 5 years, and there was some language that purported to protect kids, creators, conservatives from censorship. But as we pointed out on the show yesterday, that language was largely hollow. And so we went back to Blackburn. I worked very closely with Senator Blackburn's chief of staff all day, all afternoon, all evening. I'll give Katie Lane a shout out. She's one of my good friends. Her husband, Bill Lane, used to volunteer for the Article 3 project as a lawyer. Now he's a nominee to be a top Pentagon lawyer. I worked very hand in glove with Katie Lane and Grace and the War Room posse and Steve Bannon, and we worked with the senior members of the. He's already
talking about more people than was necessary in the Senate to actually get the votes here. This sounds like a lot of of grandstanding. I think it was just because Ted Cruz wanted it so badly that everybody wanted to screw him over.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it's not in there, but, you know, the rest of the bill is an atrocity.
Absolute atrocity. Here is Scott Bessent on with Brian Kilmeade, and he is pushing again. I mean, this is it's impressive how the Republicans hold on to this notion that if you cut taxes, you actually raise revenue. This was what George Herbert Walker Bush called 40 years ago voodoo economics. This is what the people of Kansas had a firsthand experience with when Sam Brownback, the governor there, brought in Arthur Laffer of the Laffer curve to map out how they could cut taxes and raise revenue. And within 2 years, the Kansas had devastated their revenues so much by cutting taxes that a completely controlled Republican legislature voted to raise taxes. And yet, Scott Bessent still able to peddle this garbage. Now, to be fair, it's on Fox and Friends.
taken advantage of the system. We're going to put in a work requirement, and we're just trying to get the levels back to where we were pre-COVID, which I don't think anybody disagrees with.
Elon Musk says this. It's obvious with this insane spending bill, increases the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. We live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. And he's probably going to start one if this passes. What's your reaction? You guys famously tangled in the White House.
I admire Elon's leadership on rockets. I will take care of the finances.
So do you feel as though he says the $5 trillion added to the deficit, you don't agree?
Am I mistaken? But hasn't the last 6 Musk rockets exploded?
Yeah.
They
also,
wasn't the last one didn't even get off the ground and it exploded or something?
It would have been nice for him to have said this back when Doge was a thing too. Like, why are we trusting the rocket guy with that stuff?
All right, let's go back. I mean, because Basant's about to make his pitch about how this is like by cutting, we're actually going to get more revenue. Basant also seems to have like picked up a Grecian formula habit too. Have you noticed that, or is that
a Grecian formula?
Yeah,
I'll have to ask you about that later.
Oh, I guess that's maybe
in the White House.
I admire Elon's leadership on rockets. I will take care of the finances.
So do you feel as though he says the $5 trillion added to the deficit, you don't agree?
I don't agree at all. Let me tell you why. Because this bill will set off growth like we've never seen before. The CBO projections only project 1.8% per year growth, which is substantially below what we saw in President Trump's first term. And I think we are going to see big acceleration here. And once you see the growth trajectory change to an upward bias, the bill more than pays for itself. You know, we could be in surplus.
So let's talk about the trade.
Let me just explain what he's saying there. First of all, Trump promised 4% growth on these tax cuts back in the first term. It wasn't anywhere close to that. And if anything, you had years of recovery that came from the 2008 crisis,
right?
That attributed for a lot of that growth. But nevertheless, the idea that keeping a baseline of tax cuts is going to create growth is absurd. Nobody has any more money. There's no reason. There's no more money that's available for to go into the economy. Instead, what you're doing is you're destroying rural hospitals. And you're going to see a contraction there. You're cutting people off of food stamps. So people are going to buy less food, which is going to ripple through the economy. And the idea that, like, if you had a bias, as he says, towards growth, in other words, if you believed in the complete voodoo economics that cutting taxes will increase your revenue, well, then everything will be fine. It's absurd.
If it was always 25-mile-per-hour wind, I'd run 7-minute miles every time.
Exactly. You know, if you have a bias for me having a capacity to fly, traffic would never be a problem for me. But people just refuse to have that bias.
You know, if we just say we're going to have the gravity of Mars, I'll be able to dunk, so...
But you'll be out of breath. I think if you go to Mars, it makes you, there's less oxygen, right? Isn't that the problem?
That's what I hear.
There was some hot Trump on Elon action last night. I don't know if anybody saw that. Was that my own personal feed or?
Yeah, that's your For You page.
Oh yeah, that's there's an OnlyFans page that has specifically set up for me to see this. Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.